Hey guys, welcome back to Magic TV. My name's Craig. It's 9 o'clock, which means it's time for a Talk Magic. Now, today I'm going to be talking about somebody who is very well known in the British magic community, maybe not as well known overseas, but that is going to change. This person has built an incredible reputation within the magic community. He is currently on the council of the Magic Circle. He is considered one of the, if not the finest leather workers in the world when it comes to magic. He has just released what I consider to be the best peak wallet available for magicians and mentalists, and set the world on fire, partnering up with Vanishing Ink. And his profile continues to raise every single day. We're going to delve into everything and find out exactly what makes this man tick. But I am super proud to introduce to you my guest today, the one and only mind hacker himself, Tony Antoniou. Tony, how you doing, mate?
Hey, Craig, thank you so much. That's so nice of you. Yeah, great. Good to be here.
It's great to have you. It really is. And thank you so much. I know you're busy. I know you've got a lot on between the mind hacker, between conventions, between the Magic Circle. You're keeping yourself very, very, very busy, to say the least. But thanks for taking the time to chat to me.
Likewise, I know you're busy as well. You're probably one of the busiest people in the whole industry. Let alone just between you and I. You are super, super busy. So I really appreciate you making the time as well.
No problem. I've been wanting to do this interview for a while, and I'm glad that we finally got to do it. Because a lot of and we'll get into this later on, we'll talk all about the mind hacker, but a lot of the products that you make are very, what's the word, kind of niche. A lot of people aren't aware of them, and they're fantastic. And the fact that you can literally make anything. I remember raving on my channel about the key fob that you made for Keymaster, which is, in my
Oh,
opinion,
right, yeah.
as the creator of Keymaster, the single best way to carry your keys around for that effect. Bar none.
Oh, wow.
In fact,
Yeah,
for
that's
any.
great. It's interesting you should say that. So, a little bit of background. So, I was on the Magic Circuit. I used to perform. I used to go out and perform for many, many years. I actually retired from performing about 2006. But during all the time that I did perform, I used to keep a little notebook. And if I'd encountered certain problems, I just sort of used to write down in my notebook, I wish there was a way to do this, or I found this as a problem, such like. I used to document it for no real reason. And I'm glad I did, because when I retired, I sort of found that notebook and I went back to it and I thought, okay, let's have a flick through there. And I had more time on my hands. And at the time, actually, I was more into woodworking, believe it or not.
Mm.
And flipping through the sort of notebook, I found something and I thought, actually, that would be really good if I could make this out of leather. And I thought, how hard can leatherworking be, right? So I figured, you know, I can do woodworking. I've got a workshop. As it turns out, a lot of the skills are transferable from woodworking to leatherworking, because ultimately it's lots of cutting and lots of putting together. Instead of gluing, you're stitching, or instead of nailing, you're stitching. So yeah, so I put something together. And I thought, oh, I've solved that problem. And I went back to my notebook and let's see what else I can solve. Okay, let's look at this. And then before you knew it, I had two or three things on my desk and showing them around to friends. And one friend says, oh, that's really good. I'd really like one of them. Can you make me one? Sure, I'll make you one. And then, that person shows another person. And before you know it, I've got myself I've got myself a website where I'm selling things. And it happened totally by accident. I didn't plan it in the slightest. I had no clue. In fact, if you let's think how long mine had been going on for. It's probably about 3 years now. So if you were to ask me 5 years ago, what would you be doing in 5 years' time? Believe me, having a website selling leather goods would be right at the bottom of that list. There's no way in hell I could have even picked that out of the air. Impossible. No way. So it was kind of by accident.
Well, I want to delve more into that. But before we do, let's do what I always do on these interviews, and let's start at the very, very beginning. So let's reverse a bit. We've talked about you retiring. Let's talk about you getting into magic. Like, everybody's got a story. Everybody's got their origin story about how they found magic. And a lot of those stories involve uncles and ears and coins. How
Yeah.
did you get started in magic? Where did it all
Sure,
begin?
but mine, I don't think it's a typical one, but my earliest memory of magic was my father and I used to go to every year. They used to have a boat show at Earl's Court. Now my dad never had a boat, and we never bought a boat, but he always liked the idea of getting a boat, so we always used to go along and tag along. And on one of the stands, I can't have been more than 7 years old, there was a magician there, and he was doing some close-up magic, and it really made a huge impact on me. And I think that was my first sort of uh, point in my life where I got excited about magic, but I never performed it. I just had an interest in it. It wasn't actually until I was at university, my first year of uni, and you're towards the end of your first year exams. And I was at uni in Bournemouth, as you probably know. It's a seaside town there, and the sun was shining. The last thing I really wanted to do was revise for these exams. So I was wandering around town. I walked into a shop and literally by accident stumbled upon um, Mark Wilson's Complete Course in Magic. And I looked at this book and I picked it up, and I was just absolutely fascinated. Bought it there and then. And instead of revising, I took the book down to the beach and I started reading this book. And I was, from that day, absolutely hooked. Absolutely hooked. I mean, I started performing magic tricks for my fellow students and friends, and I could see the reaction it would get. And you know what it's like. It's like a drug. It's so addictive. You get all these wonderful reactions, and you feel that you've got this real power. And I just exploited it. And then this is how crazy it was, right? Um, so naive. I didn't meet any magicians for a couple of years after that, but just in messing around, playing with cards and such like. I mean, shows how naive you are. I thought I was the first person ever to work out a double turnover because just messing around with cards. How looking back, how crazy is that? Of course, it existed for hundreds and hundreds of years, but I hadn't known anyone, I hadn't met anyone, and then so I moved back to London because I live sort of southwest London, and then I went to International Magic Convention and I met a few magicians there. That was the first time I ever met any magicians in real life. And I suddenly realized there's a whole world of us out there. And then I applied to become an associate of the Magic Circle. And that was in 1991. And that was it. That was it. Took my exam a year later, and here I am.
What was the goal back then? So you were at university, you got into magic, you really got the buzz. Was the goal
Yeah.
to become a
So,
full-time pro? Was
so
it?
no, so interestingly enough, at university, I studied food and catering.
Mm,
When I came out of uni, I actually started up a restaurant, and I ran that restaurant for 14 years.
wow.
And I used to perform. I used to do close-up restaurant table magic, in the restaurant. Performed every night for 14 years, doing magic for people. Back in the days where you could uh, light cigarettes in restaurants, and used to vanish the cigarette and thumb tip and people's ties and jackets, whatever it was. That was the done thing. God forbid you can't do that now. Mess around with people's credit cards, money, anything that was sort of around impromptu style magic. I used to perform, and actually that venue, I hosted a few magic lectures there, sort of in the early 90s as well. So that was interesting. I think the first one I had, and it was probably one of the biggest events, I think it was in 1993. I became good friends with Michael Amar, and I said to him one day, he was in town. I said, "How about we put on a lecture?" And sure enough, I advertised it in Abra magazine. Um, and I think it was Easter Bank Holiday Monday. And I was a bit, hesitant, thinking, oh, we're not going to want to come out on bank holiday, but I was wrong. And it was absolutely packed to the rafters, and Michael in his true style gave like a 5-hour lecture, masterclass, and people still come up to me even to this day and say, oh, I came along to your place in 1993 or whatever it was, and it was amazing. So yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. So I mean, we talk about getting flight time, working, doing close-up magic in your own restaurants. I mean, every single night, that's flight time. That's a
Yeah.
lot. You're probably performing more than most people.
What was interesting about that is, and actually to contrast it to what happened afterwards, I'll come on to that, but because it was on my terms, and I wasn't necessarily booked by anyone, and there wasn't the pressure to have to perform a certain amount of time or a certain amount of tables. I sort of picked and chose how I wanted to do it, and it got, the area got a little bit of reputation. Oh, the guy who owns that restaurant, he does magic. So people used to come in, and quite often they'd bring guests, friends of theirs who had seen me perform. Oh, can you show them something? And that was a sort of a little selling point of the venue, which was quite good fun. But again, always on my terms. Sold the restaurant in 2003. I literally did nothing for like a year or two, and ultimately I just got so bored. And I thought to myself, oh, what can I do? Uh, and I thought I'd go on the circuit. I'd go on the circuit, put myself out there on the corporate circuit, your parties that you do. Um, and what I found out was I wasn't really geared up for it, because for the first time, it wasn't on my terms.
Mm.
I'd have to be booked for a certain period of time at a certain venue to do a certain amount of people. And, I went through it, and certainly for the first, 18 months, I absolutely enjoyed it. But they got to a point, it actually got me down. I thought, I can't do this anymore. This isn't really what I want to do. And I think, if you recognize that you're not enjoying it, that's definitely going to rub off on your audience. They're going to notice that. You're going to send these subtle, cues out that you're not really into it. And I felt that I would be doing them a disservice if I was to turn up and just perform. So I decided, to quit that. I decided to step back. As it turned out, it was round about the period of time when I had a little boy being born into the world, so it was a good time to step back anyway. So I took a little break. Um, but yeah, it really made me realize that when I want to do magic, I do want to perform on my terms, because that way I feel that I'm giving it my all, and I'm doing it because I want to do it, not because someone's paying me to do it.
It's interesting that you say that, because I get a lot of people asking me on this channel all the time, oh, how do I become pro? I want to become a pro. And I think a lot of people that come into magic, it's almost like overload. First of all, they realize it's a bigger thing than they possibly could have imagined. And there's conventions with thousands of people and so many different magic shops and millions of different tricks. And then they realize there's a lot of people that get paid very good money to go out and perform, and they kind of instantly go, well, okay, I want to do that. I want to be going out and performing. And a lot of people will say to me, how do I go about it? How do I go and get gigs? How to become a professional magician? And I always say, it doesn't necessarily, being a pro is not the be all and end all. Some of the best magicians I've ever met are hobbyists and amateurs, because I think when you become a pro, you have to make certain sacrifices. Like me, I'm not the biggest fan of Ambitious Card, but I know that it's going to kill. I know that if I go to a gig and I got loud music and people can hardly hear me, Ambitious Card is going to be something that they're going to relate to, and it's going to get the job done. Doesn't mean that I particularly
Yeah,
want to do it. You
I'd
have to
say
be.
you're right. It's interesting because in similar lines, not only that, you can compare to what I said about performing on my terms, it extends to the material you perform. You're absolutely right, because you have to perform commercial material, and you actually, you know, laid it out beautifully. Ambitious card. That's not the sort of thing you choose to do if you were given the choice of what to perform in normal circumstances. But at a gig, hey, that's the one they want to see. That's the one that's going to go down well.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
it really is. So, what advice would you give somebody who's in magic? They want to become a pro, they want to go out and do it, but they don't know. Like, do you have any advice to somebody who's performed magic for so long that did go pro and decided it wasn't for them? Is there something that people can do beforehand to kind of make themselves know whether it's for them or not?
Well, it's one of those things. I think you have to try it. I think for me, the one of the biggest issues was the travel. I used to hate travel. If you've got a good travel plan, if you've got a good way of getting around from gig to gig, and you perhaps choose a limited area, or if you're in an area where there's lots of things going on. So, for example, if you live sort of close to London and in London, I suppose it's not as difficult than if you live sort of down the south coast and you're gigging into London all the time, because I hear this from a lot of people as well, that the travel kills them. And you probably know this more than most. So I know that you've traveled hundreds and hundreds of miles this year already.
Yeah.
Um, and we're sort of just in the middle of January, let alone what's going to be like by the end of the year. For me, I mean, I don't like driving anyway. I just don't like it. For me, I can't wait for the. I hope I live long enough to experience just cars where you can just press a button and it would just take you from A to B. I would love that. Either that, if I win the lottery, the first thing I'm going to do is have a 24-hour chauffeur on retainer. That's just going to happen because I just don't like driving it. It's just one of those things. So I think the advice is really try and keep it local if you can, so that you get you don't have the stress of commuting if that's sort of the thing you don't like. I mean, enjoy it. You have to enjoy it. That's the most important thing with anything that you do, but especially if you're gigging, you need to actually enjoy it and recognize what to do if you don't enjoy it. And I think you do yourself a good service and everyone else you perform for. If you realize you don't enjoy it, you need to step back. You need to step back and come out of that a place where you're putting yourself forward for it, because you're not doing anyone any favors.
That's a very good point. Very, very true. Um, but just rewinding before we carry on with kind of your story. You were talking about doing magic in your own restaurant for 14 years. There's going to be a lot of people listening to this interview that are younger, that probably won't believe a word that I say. But when I was kind of getting into magic, close-up magic wasn't really a thing. It wasn't really, you didn't see close-up magicians. These days, everybody's a close-up magician. It's rare to see a stage magician. I remember getting into magic and desperately saving up for a chair suspension and not having anything to do with it. I just laid it up against my bedroom, but I desperately knew that that's what I wanted. And it was all stage, and that's kind of flipped on its head a little bit now. Did you find that when you were getting into magic? Because I found it interesting that you said that you were doing close-up magic, because that was at a time where close up wasn't as popular on stage. Maybe it was just coming in with, like Paul Zen and doing the TV specials and everything. But there were in the 90s, there were less people doing close up than there were
There
stage.
were less, and actually, the people performing on the London circuit, you could count on one hand. There were very few people out there, and you'll know, Faye Presto was out there, Zap was out there. Um, let's think, Peter Medhab,
Hmm.
Darryl Rose. There weren't that many people, and you're right. And I don't think there were things like residencies, certainly not in hospitality situations. So it was fairly new. I wouldn't suggest for 1 minute I started it. That's not the case. It just happened to be I had a restaurant, I did magic, and I put the two together. And as I said, I did it on my terms. But yeah, it wasn't common in the slightest. Um, Interesting. Stage magic. You mentioned stage magic. Stage magic never really did much for me. Well, not in terms of wanting to perform stage magic. I just never really even crossed my mind. I've dabbled in it very little bit. Probably not even stage. More sort of parlor, I would suggest. But yeah, it certainly wasn't for me. I used to enjoy watching all the specials on TV. Obviously every year we used to have a Copperfield special or Doug Henning or something like that. But that was about it, really.
Wow. Okay. Okay. Um, so let's carry on with the story. So you did magic for like 18 months, 2 years, decided it wasn't for you. It wasn't something that you didn't want to perform on somebody else's terms, which I absolutely get. So what happened then? Like, how did we get from that point to you becoming the mind hacker? What happened after after you decided to step away from performing professionally?
Yeah, so professionally, I think it was about 2006 I stepped away. Um, and as I said, I started a family as well, so I stepped back a little bit from the magic scene. In any case, I still kept my hand in. I still used to go to the odd convention now and again and meet up with people. I was still fairly regular at the Magic Circle, although even from then I stepped away. Previously I used to go religiously every week without question. It was just part of the furniture kind of thing, much like I do now. Um, I I don't know. I thought because I wasn't performing, I never felt the need to keep on top of things and keep abreast of all the new releases and such like. I actually followed up another passion of mine, which I had from an early age, and we started a business with a business partner I had who's gone on actually to become very successful in her own right, and that was a photography training business. So I was a photographer as well, and I used to teach people photography. So we started up a company. Um, Based in Surrey, and we used to operate around the south coast a lot as well, taking people on workshops. And yeah, we did that for a few years, and that was good fun. And again, it's probably more to do with me than anyone else. After a while, I get a little bit itchy, and I want to move on and do the next thing. And you know that lasted a good few years, but personally, I found that I wanted to do something else, and I said to my business partner at the time, "Look, no, nothing personal towards you, but what do you think about maybe you buy me out and go alone?" And she said, "Actually, you know, that's fine. I'm happy to do that. Thanks for your help and everything." So we parted ways very amicably. So that leads me up to sort of probably just before the pandemic, I guess, something like that. Uh,
Okay.
well, pandemic. I mean, everyone's got a story for the pandemic, haven't they?
Not a
Uh,
great situation, not a great time.
Not a great time. Um, I think that's probably because everyone has so much time on their hands. And I did have a woodworking shop, as I said. I think for me, I spent probably a good 12 to 14 hours a day in that woodworking shop, keeping me busy, keeping me just not going crazy, just doing things with my hands, making things. And I think that was probably the earliest time, about, yeah, I guess about 4 years ago, 5 years ago, wherever we are, when I started making leather goods. That's when it all started for me. So if one good thing for me coming out of the pandemic, maybe I would never have been where I am today had we not had the pandemic. I mean, it's crazy how things work out. I've no idea.
That's crazy. And when you started working with leather goods, was it because you were trying to keep busy, or was it about like creating things for magicians and magic? Because going into the pandemic, you'd kind of stepped away a little bit, hadn't you? Because obviously you'd retired, not retired, sorry, but you'd stepped away from performing. You'd just like stepped away from your business partner, so you were kind of going into the pandemic, and you'd kind of been focusing on other stuff. I suppose two questions. One, did the pandemic bring you back into magic a little bit because you had more free time? And when you started creating leather goods, was it the same reason as the word woodworking, which was to keep busy, or was that tied into magic at all?
Yeah, so to answer the first question, with regards to getting more into magic during the pandemic, absolutely, because for the first time, everyone was in the same position, and we all wanted to bond somehow and communicate with people. And we had the birth of Zoom, as you well know. So all these Zoom get-togethers. There was like things like Clubhouse, where people used to come on and chat all the time, and because everyone has so much time, I used to speak to various magic friends, and we used to try and set targets. All right, we're gonna learn how to solve a Rubik's cube, learn mnemonic, all these things that you never had the time to do before, and suddenly you'd be doing it with a fellow magician, and used to, you know, challenge each other to these various things, and it forced you to create routines and presentations in a manner that we weren't used to. We're always used to performing live in person, and suddenly we have to try and work out how to perform on a screen. So I did a little bit of consulting. I'll use that term loosely, but you know, just chatting to people and coming up with ideas. Friends who were doing virtual shows. I put together a few virtual shows for some friends as well, which was great. Um, and I guess the second part of the question was, yeah, again, referring back to my notebook, again, because we did have this time looking back at the notebook, I had some sketches down of ultimately what now is the Greek Peak wallet. And this idea came many, many years ago. And in fact, the incarnation that it turned into what we have now is it's probably slightly different to my original sketches, but I made a few prototypes back then. Um, and I did contact a few leather workers at the time who actually, as it turns out, were all really busy, and they couldn't sort of look at my project. It was just local people, weren't magicians or anything like that. They would just look through the local listings to see who was doing leather work in my area, and I'd shoot them an email and I'd show them some drawings and can you make me this prototype? And I had these ideas of maybe once I had a working version of this, idea, I'd send it off to a couple of magic companies and go from there. They all turned me down, too busy. I thought, this is my chance, right? I'm going to buy a bit of leather, go into the workshop. I had a lot of the tools, so basically leather working tools. What you need is a very sharp knife and an accurate way of measuring things and a way of putting things together. I had all that. I thought I'd give it a go, and I came up with a prototype of what is the Greek Peak wallet, and I carried it around with me for a while, and I practiced leather work and just got better and better. And I found myself. So the story with the Greek Peak wallet is I found myself at the session convention, I guess, was it 2 years ago or 3 years ago? 2 or 3 years ago, I can't remember. And Christian Grace, who's a friend of mine, said to George from Vanishing Ink, hey, George, take a look at Tony's wallet. He's made this thing, because I'd showed him Christian. And George looked at it and he thought, I like this. You could see his face lit up. He said, I really like this. And I thought, I just thought, yeah, okay, that's fine. He's just being polite. And I spoke to Christian the day afterwards, and he said, after you left, George really liked that. I said, okay, well, that's interesting. He goes, you may be getting a phone call. Okay, that's fine. And again, I didn't really think much of it. But that phone call came. And we had a discussion, and we came to an agreement. We signed a contract, and that was that. The Greek Peak wallet had entered the world.
That's amazing. That's fantastic. And I want to talk more about the Greek Peak wallet, but obviously the Mindhacker makes so many different things out of leather. I mean, I just said to you the other day, so many people are wanting a poker chip holder for 10 poker chips for cheetah chips. Can you help me? And oh my gosh, that's perfect. First of all, I need to buy like 3 or 4 of those off you. And then secondly, I need to get it on my channel because I'm sick and tired of people asking me to. It's all on the cafe, it's everywhere. Where can I get a hold of these cheetah chips? That's amazing. But I only told you about that on Sunday, and you've turned it around that quickly. And that's the point. Like, when did the mind packet go from I've got this really cool idea for this very, very cool Peak wallet to I'm going to have this whole website dedicated to leatherwork and I'm going to do everything. And you have become, in a very short period of time, like the go-to guy when it comes to bespoke leather. Like, how was that a plan or was that a happy accident?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And you know what? The biggest satisfaction I personally get out of what I do right now, trust me when I say this, it's nothing to do with money. Money is right at the bottom of the list. The biggest satisfaction I get is knowing that my products are being used by magicians, and quite often magicians that I know and admire and respect. That gives me the biggest buzz I can even, I mean, I can't even tell you. I know that products of mine being used on Vegas stages, right now, or your local pub down the street from me, because a local magician who's a hobbyist using one. I get equal pleasure from both of those. It's wonderful. I love it. And I guess you're right. I guess people over the course of a few years, from one person asking to make something and then them showing another magician and them having an idea and passing on contact details. I guess my name's getting around there, and I've had lots of, in fact, I would say it's getting to the point now, I would say about 70% of my work is sort of commission work, one-off pieces, which will never see the light of day on my website. It's just specific pieces that people want, be it a prop or a specific wallet or a certain gimmick, something which I will make just for them. And the agreement is, look, you come to me, I'll make it for you. If you've got any ideas and dimensions, all the better, because it will be a lot faster and quicker and probably ultimately cheaper for them, because there's not so much time involved. And I'll make it, and as I said, it was just for them and them exclusively. So and I keep that very secret. And I don't go around telling people I made this for this person or this for this person. I think you've got to be quite careful, especially in our industry. If they're performing, say, for example, on stage, and perhaps the method is something that, or the trick that they do is something very specific to them, you don't want to try and tip the method by saying, well, I made that for them, and that's kind of how it's done. So I think discretion, I think is a big part of what I offer as well. I won't go around telling people that I made this for this person or whatever. Yeah, I think that's really, really important.
And is there what's your outside of the Greek Peak wallet? What's your favorite thing that you've made so far?
Um, wow. One of my favorite things, I think, well, one of my favorite things is probably I like my Peaksmith business card case because it's just so sneaky and deceptive. It's for people who may not know, a Peaksmith is we can talk about methods here,
Yeah.
right? Yeah,
The only people that watch this are magicians.
yeah,
Like there's no layperson is going to get an hour into an interview.
yeah.
Yeah.
So the Peaksmith, as you know, and for those who don't know, is a little electronic device with a screen on it, which you can receive information on it at a basic level. That's what it is. So the question is, how do you gain that information in an organic way, right? So this is the problem I tried to solve. And I had the idea of building it into a business card case. And the way you get the peak is, I don't think I've got it here next to me, but just by way of demonstration here, you have a business card case with, your business cards in. And the information has come to this device, and you get the peak by removing your business card. And on the close, because there's a natural action, motivated action, when you close it, you need to look down, you close it, and in that action, you've got the peak, you've got your card out, you write whatever you write down, and you hand it to the spectator. So not only that solves two problems. One, you're getting your peak, which is great in an organic way. Second thing is now you're leaving them with a business card as well. So you've got your contact information. So that's become really, really popular among Peaksmith users. In fact, the guys who make Peaksmith, the creators of Peaksmith, they became aware of this product, and they contacted me and said, look, we'd really love to stock this on our website as part of our offering, because it's a complementary product. It goes hand in hand. Can we come to some sort of arrangement? I said, well, you can, but I make all these by hand. It's going to take a while. How many do you want? And they said X amount. And I thought, oh my God. I said, well, if you give me a month, I'll see what I can do. Anyway, for a month, I was just working like crazy, fulfilling these orders. It was the biggest single order I've had to date for a product. I mean, it was so much work. But again, I'm really, really proud of it because not only it's functional, I think what's really important, as you know, in magic is motivation in your moves and justification. And I feel that I really solved the problem there with that. So yeah, really, really pleased with that.
That's great. That's amazing. And that actually begs another question, which is there a reason, other than the fact that Josh and Andy are pretty cool guys and it's nice to work with them, is there a reason that you didn't do the Greek Peak wallet yourself and
There is.
get
That's a
more of
great question.
item? Like, because you have the ability and the facility to do it yourself. You don't need Vanishing Ink to step in. I mean, it's nice. They offer a platform, but I mean,
That's a really good question. And here's the truth of the matter. It's partly selfish, and partly a reality check on my behalf is that obviously I made the original Greek Peak wallet. I made a couple of variations of the Greek Peak wallet. The thing is about that, as with everything, it's time and materials, and it's not so much materials, but the way that Greek Peak wallet is designed and the way it's done, it actually takes quite a long time to produce a single one. And in order to put that on the market, you have to charge an appropriate amount. And there's no way, knowing the magic market, there's no way that people would buy the Greek Peak wallet if I made it. The time that I put into it, the price I'd have to charge, it just wouldn't sell, right? It just wouldn't. You'd have to charge crazy money. and it will probably be bought by like a fraction of a percentage of the market, and I'd sell 10 a year maybe, and no one would know about it, and it would go nowhere. So the real answer is, in order to get this out to as many people as possible, it needs to be produced, mass produced. Let's be honest about it, mass produced. But there were certain stipulations, because I said to them, look, if I'm going to put my name to this, it has to at least meet a minimum standard that I'm willing to accept. And you have to use certain materials, and I have to oversee the whole process. And in fairness to them, along the way, they sent me various prototypes for my feedback, and they used to send me them, and I said, well, that's great, but maybe this needs changing, and the finish on here needs a little bit, and the stitching here a little bit tighter. Anyway, we went through about 6-7 different versions before ultimately we signed it off. So yeah, so the real answer for that was, yeah, it's just a cost point of view. There's no way anyone would buy it. If I charged £400 for a wallet because it took me X amount of hours, who's going to buy it? But they put it out there, they sell it for $50 or £43, whatever it happens to be. And I think it's a reasonable price. So that is the reason for why I didn't produce it myself. Having said that, and going back to the selfish reason, it was quite early on in the Mindhacker days, the website days, and not realizing actually how long a process it actually was. You probably realize more than most people that you have an idea, it can take years actually to come to market.
And
but I naively thought that the exposure early on would help perhaps drive people to my website in the early days, and help push my other products. That's the reality. I'm laying it out straight here for you, trying to be as honest and transparent as possible. It was purely selfish thinking, okay, if I went with a big company, if they've got the marketing power and they're going to produce a nice trailer and perhaps push my name, it could drive a bit of business over to the Mindhacker. It might benefit me. So yeah, that's actually the reason why I went with them. And I've got to say, my experience with them, working with George, Andy, and Josh, and there's Damien there, there's Tim Hill, there's all these people, great people to work with. I haven't got a bad thing to say about them. I had a great experience, and yeah, really enjoyed the whole process actually.
everyone I've spoken to has always said they've had a great experience with Vanishing Ink. I've only ever worked with them on a masterclass, not on a physical product, but I've heard nothing but good things. But it's true, whichever production company you work with, and this is something that new creators really struggle to get their head around. It takes years to bring something to market. Like we were just talking about Big Blind. That's been 4 years in the making.
Wow.
It's coming out now. So it's
Yeah,
crazy.
that's something I learned. I still got a lot to learn about the industry when you bring things to market. Yeah, that's showing my naivety, because it was my first product that was launched with a third party company. So, and obviously they got hundreds of projects on the go all at once, and obviously they take it very seriously, and they put a lot of investment into producing the trailers and the tutorials. So yeah, all these things take time.
Yeah, they do. And I suppose it's also a polar opposite to when you're self-producing, which is what you do with a lot of the items on Mindhacker. It's a little bit like we were talking about with Close Up Magic. When you're working in your own restaurant, you're in control of when you perform and what you perform and which table you perform for. When you're producing your own products through the Mindhacker, you're in control of how quickly or slowly they come out, because you're not having to put it in a queue with a dozen, 20, 30 other products. And so,
Exactly.
yeah, when you're coming into it as somebody who self-produces a lot of stuff, it's even more strange, because it is the polar opposite. Absolutely. Would you work with another big company again? If
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to if the opportunity came up. Obviously, we've got Blackpool around the corner. I'm going to be bringing up my case with. I've got quite a few prototypes of various wallets and holders and such like that. I'll be bringing along, and if the right people, catch my eye, I'll be happy to sit down and have a chat with any one of them. Looking forward to it. There's a couple I've got in in my vision there, waiting to catch as I see them walk by. So yeah, yeah, absolutely, I would.
Perfect, perfect. Now, I want to ask you about something else as well. Uh, I'd be remiss to not speak to you about this as I've got you here. The Magic Circle.
Right.
You are obviously now on the Council of the Magic Circle. You've been a member for a very, very long time. Um, I kind of said to you just off camera before we started filming that me personally, I would rather crawl naked through molten lava than be on the Council of the Magic Circle, just because I don't think, as amazing as the circle is, and it is amazing. I'm very proud of being a member, and I think it does a lot of good. I know, like any organization where you've got a lot of very passionate people that are ego driven to a point. You know, you can't be a performer and not have an ego. I know I have. When you have a lot of those people in the same room, it can sometimes be, kind of volatile, should we say? And I couldn't put myself in that position. So you're a saint as far as I'm concerned, Tony. But what made you, before we talk about the circle, what made you decide to become a council member? Because it's not an easy job. And for anybody watching this, not only is it not an easy job, and it takes up a lot of time, it's not like you're paid for it. And it's not like it really brings much notoriety to you, because outside of the circle, people might not even realize that you're on the
Right.
council, wouldn't even realize what being a council member is. So it
All
really
great
is a
questions.
labor of love, you
All
know?
great questions. Well, there you go. You really just spelled it out right there. I think we all do it because we love the Magic Circle. That is the reality. I'm fortunate that so as you mentioned, I'm on the Council of the Magic Circle. I'm actually deputy chair of council, which carries its own set of responsibilities. Myself and Laura London, who's the chair, work very closely together. We speak several times a day, every day, about various matters regarding the circle. Um, we do it because we love it. We love the circle. Now, I've been, as you said, I've been a member of the Magic Circle coming up to 35 years. The Magic Circle has been great to me. It's given me so many opportunities. It's given me lifelong friends. It's given me hours and hours and hours of absolute pleasure and delight in seeing top acts, the biggest names in magic coming down to London and performing in our lovely headquarters. And I felt that the time was right for me to give something back to the Magic Circle. And what I could give back is perhaps my time and certain bits of knowledge I picked up along the way, perhaps based upon my previous jobs, businesses, activities, whatever you want to call it. Um, but really, for me, the timing was very much down to our president, Marvin, in that he was, when I decided to go for the elections for standing for council, he'd already served his first year, and I loved the direction he was taking it, and it just felt so different. For a long, long time, I felt the Magic Circle just wasn't quite hitting the mark, what I really wanted it to feel like, to be like. And Marvin came along, and he had some great ideas, and with a team of people, because it does take a team. There's no question about it. I'd be wrong if I started naming individuals. I'd probably miss out a few people, but those who know. Um, he really pushed it in a place where I felt I could really, align myself with those ideas and principles. And I thought I could step up and perhaps support him in that, because we have very, very similar views. So I put myself up for election, and fortunately, the membership decided to vote me on. And yeah, we do it because we love it. It is a lot of work. I'm not going to lie. Anyone will tell you who's experienced working on the Magic Circle Council. It is literally sometimes hours a day, dozens of hours a week. It really, really is. But we do it because we love it and we're passionate about it.
And you are right. The direction the circle's going in is fantastic. I mean, the focus on live events and increased performances, and basically getting more people to be aware of how amazing magic is as an art form by putting on more shows and giving more opportunities to performers to come to the circle. It's phenomenal what what is being done at the moment. It really is. And I've been a circle member a few times. I've been kicked out. I've come back in. I've had a very turbulent kind of time with the Magic Circle, but I've never seen it in such a strong position as it is right now. I'm really
I
impressed.
have to agree with you. I have to agree. I think, see, when I first joined the circle, we didn't have our own headquarters. We were just a magic club, you know, essentially. And I think at the time, I could be wrong, but our membership back then was maybe not even 1,000 globally. And I think we're up to about 1,700 now. Uh,
Wow.
but we now, I think since 1998, we've had our own permanent headquarters in London, and along with that, you have to think about how you run the Magic Circle when you have a big, huge building with a theatre, a library, and a museum, and a club room, and a bar. It's very different to how you operate essentially just a magic club. We now have to think. For me, it was criminal that the building was being underutilized for so many years. And I know that, strictly speaking, the Magic Circle is separate from the Magic Circle Foundation, who run our building, and the charitable arm. But really, I'm a great believer in one TMC, one Magic Circle, which is a combination of the Magic Circle and the foundation should be able to unite together and provide an overall service under one umbrella. And that's what I feel it should be like.
Perfect. Yeah, completely agree. And as a side note as well, and I know the council have a lot to do with this. As a parent of a young magician, I have to say what the YMC are doing with Ed and Harry, and as part of the whole Magic Circle organization as a whole, it's incredible. I mean, I go
Really,
and I go and speak to some of the juniors that are in the YMC, and they're head and shoulders above 99% of seasoned pros, as far as I'm concerned.
100%. I mean, it blows my mind that the level of performance ability and skill that these people have. It just blows my mind. It really, really does. I mean, your own son Ryland, he's right up there. I saw him perform at South Tyneside Convention a couple of months ago on stage in front of that huge audience and that big theatre. He actually incredible. He knocked it out of the park. And what really impressed me with it, I think I mentioned this to you when I saw you. He had what I would consider a slightly awkward spectator, and the way he dealt with him, it was just perfect. It was just so professional and grown up, and he got himself out of potentially a really sticky situation, and he dealt with it so beautifully. And probably I don't know where that's come from, whether that's you teaching him how to do that, or just he's learned it by himself, or is part of it is an influence from the YMC. I don't know what it is, but he's got it, and it was great. And there's other performers there that obviously Harry Merlin Piper.
An
Um,
incredible generational talent as far as
Incredible. I mean, this next generation, Rafferty Coop, Joseph Westbury, is incredible. These kids. I shouldn't say kid. Joseph is 18 now. He's just come in. He's one of our newest members. He just joined the Magic Circle, actually.
I'm so
Um,
excited about that.
yeah. But incredible. This next generation is really going to go somewhere. Really excited to see what they come up with.
I completely agree. Completely agree. So if somebody's watching this and they want to join the circle, what advice can you give somebody? Because a lot of people, especially in the UK, but now more than ever globally, you see a lot of amateurs and hobbyists that have been performing magic for years, and they're kind of saying, my ultimate goal is to be in the magic circle. I spoke to somebody the other day who I can't remember who it was. I'm trying to think. I can't remember. I wish I could, but I spoke to somebody the other day, and they said, "Hey, I've always wanted to be in the magic circle, but I'm just not good enough." And I said, first of all, you've been performing for 15 years. You're definitely good enough. And now, more than ever, the way that the circle have the apprentice program and everything that Sarah's doing with that, like it's more supportive and easier to become a member and kind of do incredibly at those auditions now than ever before, right?
Yeah, it is. I think, well, ultimately, you have to be at a certain standard. That's important. And there is a prescribed standard and a list of criteria to pass the exam, and you have to meet them. Now, they're not. they're not too difficult to sort of if you look at all the rules and the criteria, they're not that difficult to achieve. You have to meet a certain standard, and that standard is very, very, very much within the reach of anyone who is a serious amateur, really. The Magic Circle is not just an organization of professional magicians. It's very much an organization where we have lots of hobbyists come in. But ultimately, you need to be interested in magic, and you have to be willing to learn. And if you've got that, and you've been in magic for a little amount of time, and you want to join, you can join, as you mentioned, as an apprentice. And when you join as an apprentice, effectively you're making a commitment both to yourself and to the Magic Circle that you want to try and pass that examination. And you've got a year to do it. And hopefully along that way you'll get the support that you need, either through a mentor program that we can potentially offer, or your own private study, be it taking private lessons, or learning from library, learning from books, learning from videos, whatever it happens to be. But come in, take your audition, and hopefully become a member of the Magic Circle. And that's the first sort of stage. As you probably know, Craig, there's a couple of other levels you can achieve once you become a member, but that's the first step, and it's very doable. So I would say to anyone who's a serious hobbyist or got a serious ambition to do it, go for it. There's nothing to stop you from doing it. You can do it.
Yeah, very, very, very good. Very true. Absolutely. And now there's never been a better time. There's never been a better time.
Yeah, and also there's since the pandemic, there's a different route. You used to have to be able to physically come down to the building and perform an examination. There is a route where you can put an examination forward via video,
Mhm.
and that came through. Obviously, when the pandemic was on, that was the only route, because you couldn't visit the HQ, and that's something that we found that people who are overseas are taking that option, more and more.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Um, yeah, okay. Very quickly, before we kind of start to wrap this up, let me ask you a question. So, you're in the last 3 years, your life has changed completely in terms of you're now putting a lot of time and effort into Mindhacker. You're now firmly in the magic community more than ever before. I see you at every single convention. I see you constantly. I see you more than I see my wife, I think, at this point. You're, as you said, you're very high up on the council of the Magic Circle. You've worked with Vanishing Ink. We've talked about all of this. Do you have any other goals and aspirations that you want to hit over the next few years in the magic community, within magic or within the Magic Circle, or are you just kind of like going with the flow? What's on your magical bucket list, um,
Wow,
in the future?
that's a great question. Well, let's talk about what you just said just now. Where do I want to go within the Magic Circle? There's not too many places I can go from this point, other than the big jobs, which I'm not sure I would want, to be honest with you. I'm quite happy doing what I do right now. Short of being president or vice president, I'm quite comfortable what I'm doing right now. Who knows? In 5 years' time, who knows? But certainly, not in the immediate future. That's definitely not on my list of things to want to be able to achieve. I'm quite happy supporting Marvin and doing the job that he's doing. He's doing a fantastic job, and I'll be there to support him. And if he wants to listen to any advice he may want to get from me, I'm happy to give him any advice, or just as a friend, because he's a lovely guy, and I've known him for years, as I did his father as well, who was a good friend of mine as well. Um, so as far as the Magic Circle goes, no, I'm just happy to be where I am doing what I do. Uh, Generally more in the magic world, just carry on doing what I'm doing. I love, as I said, creating for other magicians. Just brings me so much joy. Today I got a phone call from someone who's doing a show. I won't say who it is or what the product was, but literally this evening, she called me up and she said, "Look, can you make me this particular thing?" And I've never even considered making one of these items before, and it got my creative juices flowing. I thought, oh wow, if I can do this and do this, and it got me really excited. So I'm looking forward to tackling that as a project and seeing where it ends up from that first conversation to being seeing it being used on stage, which I know ultimately it will be. So more of those things. Yeah, bring it on. I can't wait.
That's amazing. That's fantastic. Um, and for anybody that's watched all the way through here, if people want to support you and your work, you don't really ever have a dealer stand at conventions.
I
Is,
don't.
is is there a reason?
There is a reason. A few reasons, several reasons. One, I love conventions because I just love the social aspect of conventions. Getting together with your friends, some whom you may have not seen for a couple of years for whatever reason, they're in different parts of the world or different parts of the country, and we all converge on this town for a couple of days. And there's just so many people and so little time, and the last thing you want to do is be on a dealer stand. Um, so the first thing is I just want to go to a convention and enjoy myself and watch the lectures and just have fun. And you can't do that as a dealer. And I know that because I've done it. I have been on a dealer stand, not my own dealer stand, but I have been on a dealer stand at Blackpool Magic Convention. And I swore back then that was the first and last time. I've never worked so hard in my life. Now, this is coming from someone who was firmly in the catering industry, which is renowned to be one of the hardest industries out there. That and being a publican, and being a magic dealer at Blackpool, it just killed me. It absolutely killed me. It just ah such hard work. It really, really is. So take my hat off to anyone who does that, including you, Craig, because I've seen you work really, really hard, and it's just not for me. I just much rather go there and just enjoy myself and not have to worry about having a stand. And also the nature of my products is um, because I make things by hand. There's only so many things that you can make by hand to take along to a convention without compromising all the time that would have taken to do other things, and all the custom projects that I do and just all my regular products that I make that tick along on my website. I'd have to dedicate a whole other section of time, which something's got to give ultimately, and there's got to be a compromise. So, yeah, I don't think you'll find me on a dealer stand anytime soon.
I totally understand, and you are right. When I got, the session was so much fun for me because I didn't have to do anything. I just literally was just relaxing, and it was just a convention for me to attend. Blackpool, I know I'm going to be dead in a corner somewhere,
Yeah.
having jumped around 10 different dealer stands, spending an hour on each one. Uh, I just know I'm going to be crumpled up in a ball somewhere. So I know exactly what you're talking about. But if people want your products, the best place to get them, because you don't go through Murphy's, you don't go through other dealers. The only place you can get Mindhacker items outside of the Greek Peak Rocket wallets, obviously,
Yeah.
is Mindhacker. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, just on my website, mindhacker.co.uk, they can find me there. I have a Facebook page, The Mind Hacker, if you just look that up, or just find me on Facebook under my name, Tony Antonio. Just search for me, send me a message. I have many people contact me who were not necessarily friends on Facebook, but they may have seen my name out there on various groups, or people have might have pointed them over as a recommendation. I'm more than happy to take any inquiries. Yeah, absolutely. Just ping me over a message.
And you showed that absolutely wonderful poker. I'm not joking. Since I bought out Cheetah Chips in November last year, so a couple of months ago, I mean, it was the best selling trick for Penguin of the Black Friday bunch.
Oh,
It's been probably my second best selling trick of the year. I have had hundreds of people say, "Oh, we love the trick, but we don't want to carry the poker chips around in our pockets." And I said this to you, and now that looked to make that's it. I want one of those. Like, I have no problem carrying them around in my pocket, but I want one of those. Is that on your site? Can people buy that now?
it's not on my site. I literally because we had a chat on Sunday, didn't we? We had a chat
Yeah.
on Sunday, I think, when I saw you at the session, and I thought I'd just make one up just to
And I
put
said it needed to hold 10, and that's 10 exactly, isn't it? I mean, that's
that's
just,
that's 10 in there exactly. So
my
uh,
God, that's perfect.
I'll probably put it up on my site, but Yeah, if there's a demand for it, I'm more than happy to do it.
There is, I'm telling you now, there's a demand for it. I want to buy one. I want to do a video on it, and I guarantee you'll have about 50 orders within the day.
Oh
The
wow.
amount of people that have said to me.
We'll make it happen. We'll make it happen.
Amazing. Let's make it happen. Let's make it happen. But keep checking Mindhacker. You have some amazing stuff. And if you've got an idea for a one-off product that you want for your show, or if you're wanting to come up with the latest and greatest magic trick that you want to pitch to somewhere like Murphy's and Penguin, and it involves leather, and you need to make a prototype to show that said company, again, Tony is somebody who can not only help you with that, but he can also, he's very ethical. In other words, he's not going to take your idea and go, well, yeah, I can do that. And then it comes at, Tony's the most ethical person I've ever met. So he is a person that you can go to and you can have something prototyped, safe in the knowledge that it's going to just between you and Tony. So if you're looking for something like that, Tony can help you. What I'm saying is go to the Mindhackers website because it is incredible. It is incredible. And Tony, you are incredible. And this has been an amazing interview. I knew it would be. You didn't disappoint. Thank you so much for coming on the channel. I
Great.
really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. I really enjoyed it. And listen, thank you for everything that you do for us as a community. I think what you do is just incredible. And seeing you work with Ryland and that bond I see that you have when walking around conventions, is as a father myself, you've got the best job in the world. You really have. I love it.
I always say to people, my job now is basically my son's full-time roadie, and I absolutely love every second of it, and it's amazing. No, thank you so much. I'm sure I'll bump into you again very, very soon. But on behalf of everybody that's watching this program and watching this this interview, thank you so much, Tony. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
No problem. And guys, don't forget, you can do two things, three things, do three things, just three things for me. Going to cost you a couple of seconds. Number one, go on Facebook and like the Mindhackers Facebook page. Boom, you're going to get kept up to date with new products that are coming out. Second of all, go check out Tony's website. I guarantee there's going to be something on there. And keep watching out for that. If you've got cheater chips and you've been hassling me, keep watching out for that on the website, because that is the perfect solution. I'm getting two of those. And then finally, leave a comment down below. Tony will read it. Leave a comment down below and let Tony know what you thought of this interview. I thought it was amazing. But on behalf of the Mindhacker, Tony Antoniou, and myself, thank you so much for joining me here on Magic TV. I'll be back next Saturday with another interview, but we'll see you again soon. Tony, one more time, thank you very much, my friend.
Thanks, Craig. Really appreciate it.
You're more than welcome. I'm Craig. This is Tony, and this was Magic TV.